Well, the CIA killed Kennedy. Yeah. Like I don't even think you get in trouble for saying it anymore. It's not even a controversial statement at this point, which is, I think, why this story has sort of gone under the radar on some level. Is that people are openly saying it now in the mainstream media that the CIA killed John F. Kennedy, and probably his brother too. So we've sort of crossed that threshold in the last few months due to those papers being released that were released a few months ago, where we can just come out and openly say it. We were just talking about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. A few minutes ago, and he actually talks about how the CIA killed his uncle. He was just on TV the other day saying it, and it didn't even make the news. Didn't even make any real dent in the news cycle.
You said the evidence is overwhelming and beyond any reasonable doubt that the CIA was involved.
Oh, before I start the video, Robert F. Kennedy has some sort of I forgot what the condition he has is called, but it affects his voice. His voice is very it's well, you'll hear in a minute. I'm going to try to turn it up as much as I possibly can, because you can hear him, you can understand him, but it's going to be a little bit you're going to have to try to understand what he's saying, because his voice is so I don't want to say weak, but it is very labored. But no, it's not me. It's actually he has a condition. So let's.
You said the evidence is overwhelming and beyond any reasonable doubt that the CIA was involved in the killing of your uncle, a U.S. president. What is the evidence?
Well, you know, there's millions of pages of documents, of CIA documents, of transcripts, of recorded conversations from the Cuban embassy in Mexico City. To summarize the evidence, there are, as I said in that podcast, there are confessions of people who were directly involved in the plot, who were involved in the planning of the plot, who were peripheral to the plot. There's a 60-year cover-up. The Warren Commission was run by Allen Dulles, who was the head of the CIA, who my uncle fired, and then insinuated himself onto the Warren Commission and essentially ran the Warren Commission and kept this evidence from the Warren Commissioners. By the way, when Congress, 10 years later, investigated the crime with much more evidence than the Warren Commission had at its disposal, Congress found that, yeah, it was a plot. It was a conspiracy. There were multiple people involved. And most of the people in that investigation believed that it was the CIA that was behind it, because the evidence was so overwhelming to them.
The magic bullet never made any sense to me. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, well, none of it made any. I mean, Jack Ruby, even when I was a little boy, Sean, I was in the White House. My uncle was, laying at rest in the East Room, being waked. And I was standing in the main foyer of the White House with my Aunt Jackie Kennedy and my father and my mother. And President Johnson came in and told us that Lee Harvey Oswald had just been killed by Jack Ruby. And and I said to my mom at that point, I turned to her and I said, why did he kill him? Did he love our family? Well, that's a lingering question. What was Jack Ruby doing there? My father, when he investigated Jack Ruby, he found out that Jack Ruby had been deeply involved with Carlos Marcella's mob, with Sam Giancana, and all the people who were all of those mob leaders, Santos Traficante, who were the Havana casino owners, who had been recruited by the CIA in the Castro murder plot. So they were all working together in cahoots with the CIA. By the way, the day that my uncle was killed, I was picked up at the Sidwell Friends School and brought home. The first phone call that my father made after J. Edgar Hoover told him that his brother had been shot was to the CIA desk officer in Langley, who was only a mile from our house.
Yeah.
And my father said to him, "Did your people do this?" His next call was to Harry Ruiz, who was one of the Cuban Bay of Pigs leaders who had remained very, very close to our family and to my father. My father asked him the same question. Then my father called John McComb, who was the head of the CIA, and asked him to come to the house. McComb came over, and when I came home from Sidwell Friends School, my father was walking in the yard with John McComb, and my father was posing the same question to him. Was it our people who did this to my brother? So it was my father's first instinct that the agency had killed his brother.
Yep. So now we could just pretty much openly say that the CIA probably killed John F. Kennedy. More than likely. It's so funny because for so many years, believing that made you what is called a conspiracy theorist. Oh, that's crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. Well, what do you know? The CIA created the term conspiracy theorist to describe people who believed that they killed Kennedy. The whole purpose of the term conspiracy theory is to essentially ghettoize, marginalize anybody who does not believe official government narratives, particularly the ones surrounding that assassination. And now, again, the media and the government that tells it what to do, basically, use that term to describe everything. I mean, I've been called a conspiracy theorist here on WLTH when I talked about the vaccine for a few years, when I talked about a lot of stuff that went on with COVID, when I talked about the origins of COVID 3 years ago, about it being from a lab, and people called us conspiracy theorists. Now, the Biden administration openly says it came from a lab. Now you have whole countries that are quietly discontinuing the vaccine for whole groups of people because of the side effects that I talked about people having. And many of us. So always be careful about allowing these people to marginalize people who tell the truth. A lot of people tried to tell the truth about the Kennedy assassination for many years who have looked at as crazy people. You're a loon. You're insane. It was a magic bullet, you know? And now we can just openly say, yeah, the CIA killed John F. Kennedy. Wow. That is, what a world. Feels like everything is speeding up. The last few years, the amount of things that have been exposed and institutions that have been exposed, it just feels like our entire society is in some sort of a meltdown. I was talking about this with Miss McCready on Monday one week, and that we are melting down as a society, and a lot of that is because the institutions that people were told to believe in, they no longer believe in. Now, as black people, we always were raised to be skeptical about the FBI, the CIA. We know what they did to Martin Luther King. We know what they did to Malcolm X. Why Malcolm X's daughter is suing the FBI and the New York Police Department today. We know what they did to the Black Panthers and the NAACP and all these civil rights organizations. We know what they did to great civil rights activists. But a lot of the white people who grew up in this country, and immigrants who came from other countries and bought into the American dream nonsense, a lot of them are finally starting to wake up and realize just how corrupt the institutions of power are in this country. And we are seeing quite a reckoning happening. Quite a reckoning happening. Let me take this call before I go. Hello, caller.
Man, I was listening to your show, man. It's just amazing, you know?
Well, thank you.
Yeah, just, I'm on the same page with you. Sometimes a lot of people are not,
Yeah, oh, yeah. We're conspiracy theorists.
Man, you was talking about Joe Biden, and they're like, yeah, we're going to vote. I said, man, if that man runs, whoever the Republican is, he's going to win, hands down. Because everybody can see it. I mean, the majority of the people can see it. Mm-hmm. It's not his age. He's just worn out. Some people wear out a little quicker than others.
He's gone.
He's gone, man. He's gone. And, the guy over in the president of the Ukraine, hey, man, send me $40 billion. Okay.
Yeah.
Just send it to him. I was talking to my buddies the other day. We were, joking watching the game. We talk politics. I said, hey, man, this guy's sending billions and billions of dollars over there, but he got to send it to somebody. Where they going? Shopping? The mall's supposed to be closed. They're at war, right? I mean, what?
Right.
What are you spending all this money on? The weapons are free.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're supposed to be doing, fighting, right?
Yeah, it's for the defense contractors. It's for the defense contractors.
Thank you. There we go. I knew you was going to get on this. It's for the defense contractors who are constituents of Joe. So, the money moving around, man. It's terrible. If this guy runs, and then they didn't want to debate. They didn't want to have a debate because they know he can't debate.
Right.
Kennedy will eat him alive.
Yeah.
But they should tell him, hey, man, don't even do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it, Joe. Just let it go, man. You had your run. Let it go. Let the young boy, let Kennedy go on in there and do his thing, man, because he ain't got a chance. I was going to say something else, snowball chance, and, whatever.
Right.
But you keep up the good work, and I enjoy your show.
It's all good, brother. Thank you for your call. They would. Well, see, here's the thing. They wanted Kamala Harris from the jump. Well, here's what people forget, because I was talking about this back in 2017, 2016, right after Trump got elected. Kamala Harris was always the one that they wanted. The Hamptons, privileged, elite Democrats always wanted Kamala Harris. She was the front runner in 2017, but Kamala Harris is one of the worst politicians living. Okay? The woman fails to connect with everybody. She had to drop out of the Democratic primary before it got to her home state because she knew she was going to get destroyed in her own home state. There's constant upheaval in her office. Why is there constant upheaval in Kamala Harris's office? Because she cannot keep people around her. She's horrible to work for. She's horrible to work with. She doesn't connect with the public. Whenever they ask her a question, she always starts rambling about something. Now, I think I wouldn't be surprised she had a little bit of social anxiety. And I would not be surprised. What she sounds like is somebody who needs to take a drink or needs to maybe, take some sort of anti-anxiety medication before she does public events. And so that's sort of, to me, if you look at a lot of the statements she says through that lens where she's sort of talking in circles and sounding a little bit loopy, that makes sense, that she's just nervous. But she seems like the type of person who does not have what it takes to be a public figure. And people can smell it on her. That's why they don't connect with her, even in her own state. So now they couldn't get Kamala. And then Tulsi Gabbard just really ended her campaign right there on the debate stage when she said, look, You've put tons of black people in prison. How are you going to run around and say that you're somebody who's compassionate when you help ramp up the prison industrial complex in California? And that was it for her, basically. She never recovered from that. So they wanted Kamala Harris. They didn't want Joe Biden. Barack Obama specifically did not want Joe Biden to run for office at first. The only reason that Joe Biden ran for office is because it looked like Bernie Sanders was going to win. And because they were afraid that Bernie Sanders was going to win and possibly win the presidency, that's the fear. If they were sure that Bernie Sanders was going to lose, they would be overjoyed to have Bernie Sanders be the candidate. There's nothing they want more than to crush the progressive wing of the Democratic Party and say, see, this is what happens when we nominate one of you guys. But no, they thought Bernie might win. They thought Bernie might fight for universal health care. He might fight to pull back some of the war complex, that he'll stand up to Wall Street on some level. They were afraid that he might actually do some of the stuff that he was talking about. And their donors, the donor base of the Democratic Party, cannot have that. They cannot have that. As I've told you guys on this show a few months ago, Democrats control 90% of the richest congressional districts in the country. 90%. The richest places in America are controlled by the Democrats. Manhattan, Beverly Hills, Silicon Valley, the suburbs of Virginia, the richest places in the country. The paradigm has shifted fully. When I was a kid, it was Texas. Oh, the Texas oil money. We're all afraid of the Texas oil money. The Bushes and the Texas oil money. Reagan's got the Texas oil money. Texas oil money ain't nothing in comparison to Silicon Valley. Nothing. All those Facebook people, all that Facebook money, before Twitter sold itself to Elon Musk, all that Twitter money, that Silicon Valley money is something serious. That Manhattan money is something serious. That Beverly Hills money, that Hollywood money is something serious. They do not want Bernie Sanders. They never wanted Bernie Sanders, and they don't want anybody who might tax them and not allow them to have the wars that they want, the low taxes that they want, and the corporations controlling all of our society. The surveillance state that they want. That's what they really want now, is the surveillance state. And they're afraid that people like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. or Marianne Williamson will get in there and actually pull back a lot of this stuff. And so that's how we ended up with Joe Biden. And now they're stuck with Joe Biden because everybody hates Kamala Harris and Pete Buttigieg. Whew. All right, folks. When we get back, happy happies!